Hey guys, it's Alex for week 5. So I don't know if you all felt this way, but I thought that this week's readings were fairly polarizing. Upon finishing the first article I read, which was the chapter 8 reading, I was feeling so positive and uplifted, and like communities can really come together in disasters to overcome adversity. People aren't just going to panic and run around and steal and loot and rely on the government to help them. Communities come together and they help each other recover from disasters, and it was sounded great. And then I read the article about Florence, about the pets being left behind, and just dogs being left in kennels to drown. And then I read the article about just trying to evacuate entire cities and how it's virtually impossible without many hours, days, time, money, deaths. And then I read the article about the global crisis of factory farming, and the increase of natural disasters that's due in large part to that, and our inability to rise up as a society and say no to the big businesses that are causing these global issues and just destroying our earth and all of the beings that live on it. And then I finished off my readings with the TED Talk, and that just kind of left me wondering, what's the point? What is even the point of life at all? So, terms and concepts. It's a myth that communities of disaster victims are psychologically fragile to the point of being incapable of caring for themselves, and that the communities will loot and steal and prey upon others, and that this is just played up by the media. Most households will be largely self-sufficient in disasters, and if emergency managers can have a better understanding of who will be self-sufficient and what areas of the community can take care of themselves, they can focus on the truly needy. Second, the expectations of panic become justification for government officials giving the public incomplete information or withholding information altogether, and research has shown that just lowers the likelihood that the community is going to comply with the protective actions that the government's suggesting. So the misconception that accurate information will cause panic leads officials to release information that decreases the likelihood of compliance. So they should tell the people what they need to know. People don't typically panic to the point of being unable to function, and panic is thought to be more common because observers of disasters misinterpret the state of disaster victims who took unsuccessful action. So that was the part of chapter 8 where they drew the example of people being found in a motel closet dead in a fire, and the media associating that with panic, but when in reality it's just people trying to get out any open door that they see. And I mean, there's a fire in a motel and you don't know where you're going. Not panic, just inability to make the right choices. And let's see, that people are particularly fearful when they have a lack of information about the personal consequences of hazard exposure. So people are going to be more fearful of terrorist attacks, or tech hazards, or biological or radiological agents, chemical agents that we don't know if we're even exposed, if it'll impact our future short-term, long-term. We are very scared of those types of disasters. I am. Makes sense. So the evacuating pets thing, I have lots of thoughts. Authorities and shelters really need to be more accommodating to pet owners. Know that pet-friendly shelters fill up really fast, and a lot of people have animals that they can't take around other people, or they can't take around other animals. So there just needs to be more pet-friendly shelters, in my opinion, for these disaster scenarios. Or if, it comes down to it, those people in that video that had the dogs in the kennel, those dogs were going to drown. Just open the kennel and let them fend for themselves. I think it's moronic for them to keep them locked in the kennel, but it's just me. the article about Houston was crazy. I had no idea that more people died trying to evacuate from Hurricane Rita than did in the actual weather event. All right, that's it for terms. Okay, muddy point. I don't really have a muddy point, but I do want to point out, I want to make sure that everyone read this part of the one about the pigs, that there was a law passed that said that, that people were not allowed to expose the negative aspects of factory farming in North Carolina. They couldn't, they're just making all sorts of terrible, terrible decisions, and they weren't allowed to be exposed. But a Florida or North Carolina judge made it so that we can try to be allowed to let people know what's going on in factory farms. So that's good, I guess, but the world's crazy. And let's see. All right. So my question for the week, sorry, this is long and ranty again, would be, do you think that your perceptions of communities and individuals' reactions in disaster situations was previously incorrect because of how news and movies were portraying it and reporting it, how people are just going to panic and loot and steal versus come together and be capable of taking care of themselves in these situations? Or do you think that you had a good understanding of that? All right, so that's it for week 5. We'll see you next week.